Thank you for attending the second and final public involvement meeting for the WIS 35 corridor study. The purpose of this meeting is to present the alternatives that have been developed and evaluated, provide information on alternative screening, present the recommended alternative, and gain feedback from the public. After you watch this presentation, we encourage you to view the study exhibits prepared for this meeting, complete the alternative survey, and fill out a comment sheet with any additional comments you'd like to share. WIS representatives will be available to answer any questions you may have. The La Crosse major corridor studies were approved in 2021 and are being evaluated as 4 separate corridors. The focus of this meeting and presentation is WIS 35, shown on the map highlighted in orange. 3 additional corridor studies are also underway, including the US 53 and US 14/61 corridor, shown in blue, the WIS 16 downtown corridor, shown in green, and the WIS 16 corridor, shown in purple. If you're interested in being involved in the planning efforts of these other corridors, public involvement opportunities will be coming later in 2025. The limits of the WIS 35 corridor study are from US 14/61 in the south to US 53 in the north, a length of approximately 4.8 miles. Because of recent improvements made on both ends of the study area, highlighted in red on the map, the proposed construction limits are from Barlow Street in the south to Cunningham Street in the north. The scope of this study is to identify alternatives that improve safety in multimodal facilities while addressing pavement, bridge, and utility infrastructure needs. WIS 35 carries several local street names within the study limits, including West Avenue, Lang Drive, and George Street. For the purposes of this study, we will refer to the entire study corridor as WIS 35. A key component of a corridor study is a development of a purpose and needs statement, which provides a concise description of the objectives of a project. This statement can change over the course of the study as new information becomes available. The purpose and needs statement for the WIS 35 study has been modified from the version that was presented at the first public involvement meeting in February. The changes were minor, and the primary needs for the study have not changed. The current statement reads: the purpose of the WIS 35 project is to improve the utility of WIS 35 for all travelers by addressing safety, corridor infrastructure deterioration, and multimodal access and connectivity. The identified needs of the WIS 35 corridor fit into 3 categories: safety, infrastructure, and multimodal facilities. The primary purpose of the study is safety improvement. 75% of the corridor and more than 10 corridor intersections have been flagged for safety concerns. Bicycle and pedestrian safety concerns were also identified throughout the corridor. Corridor infrastructure is another area of need, with 60% of pavement sections in need of replacement and the remainder in need of resurfacing. In addition, 2 bridges are due for rehabilitation and several sections of utilities require replacement. Finally, multimodal facilities were identified as an area of need, including high-stress pedestrian crossings, bicycle facility connectivity, and transit stop amenities. Please refer to the exhibits for more detail on these needs. 2 alternatives were developed to address the project purpose and need. These alternatives have only minor differences in the number of lanes throughout the corridor. The primary difference between alternatives is the presence and type of bicycle facilities throughout the corridor. Alternative 1 includes fewer bicycle facilities than Alternative 2, and those facilities tend to be shared bicycle and pedestrian facilities. Alternative 2 includes more bicycle facilities than Alternative 1, and those facilities tend to be dedicated bicycle facilities. Both alternatives include infrastructure improvements, traffic signal and lighting improvements, curb ramp improvements, and intersection geometry improvements. Please review the Improvement Alternative Highlights exhibit for more details or consult a WIS representative with any questions. The alternatives were screened using 6 criteria as a tool to determine which alternatives best meets the study purpose and need. The first, safety, evaluated the safety performance of each alternative for all travel modes, including bicycle and pedestrian safety. Factors like the presence and type of bicycle and pedestrian accommodations were evaluated. The mobility criterion refers to how easy it is for roadway users to access their destinations or travel along the corridor and considers factors like motor vehicle delay, backups, removal of parking, and access changes. The impacts associated with each alternative are similar, but were also considered in the screening process. Items that were evaluated included right-of-way acquisition needs, environmental impacts, aesthetic impacts, and others. Construction costs for each alternative were also estimated and compared. And finally, community input is part of the screening process and currently includes feedback from advisory committees and municipalities. The screening results were used to identify a recommended alternative. Input from this public meeting will be incorporated in the final screening process to determine what alternative is preferred for WIS 35 to move into the design and construction phases. Please see the exhibits for more screening details, results of the screening process, and identification of the recommended alternative. Detailed plan view exhibits are also available for review. These exhibits show the alternatives under consideration for each roadway section from a top-down map view perspective, alongside the typical section graphics used in previous public involvement. A separate exhibit is shown for each roadway section. These exhibits are formatted so that the recommended alternative is shown on the top row of each exhibit, while the other alternative under consideration is shown on the bottom row of each exhibit. The WIS 35 project will be eligible for Community Sensitive Design, or CSD treatment funding. These treatments are selected by the local municipality with input from the community and typically include aesthetic improvements and/or enhancements for non-motorized users. The City of La Crosse has expressed interest in including the bike ped enhancements, signals and lighting enhancements, and aesthetic features like the examples shown on this slide. CSD treatment funding can be up to 1.5% of the total project cost. The treatment costs are split, with 80% covered by the project and 20% covered by the city. The study phase of the WIS 35 project is in its final stages. We are expecting a signed environmental document in the spring of 2025, which will mark the end of the study phase. The environmental document will identify a preferred alternative for the corridor to move into the design and construction phases. Your feedback is essential in helping us select the preferred alternative. The roadway design phase of the project is scheduled to start later in 2025 and will continue into 2028. Pending funding, the earliest that construction could start is 2029. Again, thank you for attending this public meeting. We encourage you to fill out the survey and/or comment forms and return them to WISDOT. Completed surveys and comment forms can be left with us today, mailed at a later date, or emailed to the WISDOT staff listed in the study handout.